Begin. Fairy's going to summon herself onto the opponent's side of the field. This is a play to counter the effect of a Gamma, apparently. Countering that, but mostly it's supposed to be countering an impermanence. If you don't want to get impermed, you set a monster in the opponent's side of the field, then you normal summon when your main plays Dragon, searching for a spell or trap. Ash, negate. Now, is this a good Ash? I don't agree with this Ash. I would Ash the Mimighoul Maker. That spell is a good one. But you could also argue that the Mimighoul Maker also has a great effect while in the graveyard, so by cutting off access to the card altogether is an additional benefit if you're lucky enough for them to not already have the card or a way to get into the card. Triple, and there they do. They got it. So that is the downside. It's a dice roll where more so negating this specifically could be instead a coin flip where, you know, heads you win, you roll a 6. We did not roll a 6 on that, so there you go. That's what we wanted to stop. The field spell states that the opponent cannot normal summon or declare an attack with a special summon monster if they control a face-down monster. If you're a Mimighoul player, how do you know if the floodgate is affecting them to the point where you want to force the floodgate with the Mimighoul Room by summoning a body onto their field early face down? Well, you do so through what's happening right now by preemptively giving them a face-down monster. Now, they could just flip it up, but why would they want to flip up an effect that states your opponent draws a card and you lose a card from your hand? So this tells you that if they keep it face down, then they're not really being affected by the floodgate. You're going to instead use the room to flip a monster face down whenever you want. If they do flip it up, that's a sign of desperation, and I would say that you should force the floodgate on them with the Mimighoul Room, getting a monster face down on their field so they can't normal summon. Flipping up the fairy, anything summoned from the hand? Yeah, so this is where I would what? Sword of Revealing Light, flip up face down monsters, what the? And it's a regular spell, so you could triple tactics thrust it into your hand. That is wild. So I would right now in Resolution use the Mimighoul Room to set a monster before they normal summon. But, you know, we see their hand. That's not even the case. Wave, King, Caesar. Negate and destroy the Druid Swarm. Gamma, negate the Wave King Caesar. Gamma, negated by the Wave King Caesar. Negate and destroy. Again. Negate and destroy. Well, thank you, Fiendsmith. Looks like Mimighoul was not even needed. Normal summon the Gaddock since we don't have a face-down monster. We're going to Little Knight Chain, banish away that Gaddock. Begone. Adding back the Bone Party, now activatable to summon a body from the deck. Ash Blossom, negate. We didn't even get to see the room. Flip down, ain't no way. Let's hop in a game. Number 2. Anguish on summon, we're going to Ash negate. There is not one, but 2 extensions through any other form of disruption here. We didn't even summon Creation King. That's actually quite wild. I don't think I've ever seen Creation King just not be summoned when having full combo. Randomly discarding the Mimighoul Master, which is okay. We have an excuse to reborn it from a grave. You actually don't even want it in your hand. The big choke point is going to be the Mimighoul Maker. We're going to special summon the armor onto our side of the field. We're going to trigger the effect of the combined creation to reborn a monster in grave. We're going to use Chimera to also reborn our Gaddock. Anguish is here. Anguish will be searching for a mace, or the Gaddock will be adding the mace. And with the mace, we could take control of an opponent's monster. So instead, we're going to grab a Goblin, which could protect our monsters from being targeted by card effects. Triple Tactics Talent, take control of a monster. We're going to chain Goblin and Bone Party. We're going to chain Mace. The Mace is only activatable if we control the combined creation. So if they take control of this, that's it. No Mace, mate. Oh, you popped your own combined creation. Why not chain Mace? Well, Mace is just dead now. We have Little Knight. Acheron is going to trigger, reborn itself back onto the field. Mimighoul Maker is going to grab 2 flip monsters. The opponent randomly picks one to go onto their side of the field. The other goes to the hand. Then they could special summon. Special summoning that dragon unsummon. Search in the deck for the Mimighoul dungeon, which could search for another Mimighoul monster. Lacrima sent from the deck to the Grave Engraver. And let's get Fiendsmithing it up. We're waiting with the Nibiru. When do we have to Nibiru? Well, if we were fearing an Apollo USA, then we would had to have Nibiru'd earlier than this, right? And should Madison had turned the Little Knight, Dragon, and Armor into an Apollo before making these plays? Because now we're getting full Nibiru'd. Wait, you're waiting? What if they have a Caesar? They Caesar, and then you're not going to be able to Nibiru. Actually waiting. Interesting. Sleepy, come forth and summon. Little Knight, Chain, Banish. Are we adding a Nibiru to this? I guess we're going to try to disrupt the Engravers through making a Creation King right now. Creation King could wipe them up before they make the Caesar. Creation King is going to be activating its first effect. Now, it's worth noting, if the opponent ever summons a Creation King on your turn, you're the opposing player to a Memento player, they cannot chain their pop effect to their effect of sending cards in the deck to the grave. So that is your moment to chain an effect, to disrupt it, flip it down, pop it, get rid of it, and it will not be able to chain pop you. Full field wipe, trigger the field spell, trigger the Acheron, return a card back, Sleepy, send a card from the deck to the grave, add back the Anguish for next turn, reborn the Goblin, Mimighoul Dungeon. We do not have a normal summon. The Slime could summon it to the opponent's top field and do nothing. It's a complete debate of nothing. All right. Little Knight comes back, then back to us as we are going to Creation King, clean up the field here, Acheron trigger, reborn, give us the ability to attack directly with the Creation King, as the Slime is now going to trigger to flip up and summon a monster from the opponent's deck onto their field. Does this lead into a form of disruption? No, we're going to Ash our own effect of it being able to summon a monster from the deck, so it's now stuck to our field also instead of returning to their side. Keep on going. We're going to link this on. Oh my Jesus, Gritcha. Can we just end the duel? What are we doing? Let's combined creation. 5K to the face. We really could not have just won by going into another Creation King and then attack directly. All right, set the bone party. What are you doing to Mimighoul? How dare you? We're going to get Fiendsmithing. Creation combined is going to trigger, reborn the Anguish, grab the Mace. Mace, just steal it before it goes into Requiem. Just end the duel, mate. I'm begging you. Barry is going to special summon onto the opponent's side. Like, the Mimighoul player has already given up. They're just summoning Mimighouls there for fun. And since you activated to summon on my field and I blocked my main monster zone, the only spot where it could be summoned, it now goes to the graveyard since it can't be summoned. That was pretty funny. That was good. All right, let's get to it. Gianna, what happened to their third duel? Gritcha and Madison, are you both okay? Your third duel, it does not exist in the duel room. Did someone run away? What the? All right, we're gonna hop into another match. Begin. Saphira, we're gonna send for the deck a ritual spell searching for our Mistva, not a voiceless. As Diviner's going to send from the deck a Trias. Trias going to tribute off the Diviner to summon a low from the deck. First of all, what happened to the Anva activation? We played a continuous spell instead of the continuous trap, it looks like, so we don't have the pop there. The Mistva has the ability to negate a monster and return a card in the field back to the hand, and any card sent from the opponent's field to the graveyard is banished instead, and we're not going to count that as a form of disruption. We have Varudras, which will be able to negate and destroy anything, and then we have Rivalry, which could pop any card on the field. About 4 forms of disrupt. Here, Reese map has to be our very first activation at the start of main phase 1, searching for our Sage. Lordy Load is going to get negated and destroyed. We have another copy of Lordy Load. It cannot be activated. Let's detach, pop on our own low. And this is during the opponent's turn where any card sent from the field is banished instead of being sent to the grave. So we just banished our own low. We're going to Mistva, return the Dino Domains back to just negate the Sage since it is smaller. We now still have the ability to return a card in the field back to the hand, and we could Rivalry pop any card on the field. They set up with the True Light. We're going to pop it with Rivalry, or return it back with the Sea Spires. Come forth and summon. Anva on summon. Wipe away the True Light. True Light is going to be chaining in response. We could have essentially, in a way, kind of negated it by returning it back to the hand, but then it does not get destroyed. We now wipe out the Sage, which will also get banished. We have Roar with the Eyes of Blue summoned for the deck of Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now the Maiden is in grave since she wasn't sent from the field to the grave, otherwise she would have been banished. Anva is going to use the effect of the Sea Spires to return a card in the field. Back to the hand you go. And just like that, we have the Maiden being reborn, getting banished thanks to the Worm Winds. We're going to be tributing ourselves off, banishing, continually getting banished, reborning that Blue Eyes White Dragon onto the field, as we're now going to equip onto the Blue Eyes White Dragon a Neo Ultimate, which all our cards are going to get banished here, come forth into the Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. Tyrant Dragon's going to be recycling the Engrave Purge or the True Light. Now, what just happened here? We have activated the effect of the damage step effect. This states that place a VVRyuGe continuous spell to target a monster and reduce it to 0 attack. But by targeting our monster, we have the Neo Ultimate Blue Eyes. So the big question is, did we use this in the damage step? Yes, we did. Now, how do we know that this card can be activated in the damage step to negate a targeting effect? Well, if we read it, it says it negates the activation. Thus, that wording, activation and not effect, allows it to be negating the targeting effect of reducing our Tyrant, and it's also being able to attack into every single body on the field. Now, there is a situation here that is a bit confusing. Any monster sent from the field to the grave during the opponent's turn is banished instead, and the Neo Ultimate Dragon was sent to the graveyard. Well, it was a continuous spell at the time of being sent to the grave, not actually a monster. So only for that reason was it legally in grave and being able to negate the effect. Also destroy. Negate and destroy, mate. Anva's going to trigger, play another Wormwinds from the deck. We're going to do it again? What? That is crazy. We returned the Wormwinds to reduce, it got negated, and then we put it back on the field through the effect of Anva to reduce your attack again within the same damage step, start of the damage step. Oh my Jesus. We still get the effect to set into the back row, and thankfully we attacked into a defense position monster, otherwise we would have been dying on that attack. That was spicy. That was something. The fact that the continuous spells are not a hard once per turn, they're a soft once per turn per different pendulum monster you have on the field is why we could use the effect more than once. We have the Purge, which is public knowledge. We do know that that was set. The True Light Engrave is going to allow us to destroy the card on the negate. As we now go to the battle phase, we have Majesty. If the Varodros gets destroyed, it has another effect, and we are destroying it. If destroyed, it does not need an Xyz material. You can now non-target destroy a card on the field. Wipe away the Varodros, trigger, pop a card in the field, take out the Tyrant, open field, lethal damage. Now, that destruction effect can be paired up with your Mistva. When it's summoned, it pops 2 of your own cards. So if you trigger Mistva during the opponent's turn after the Varodros has already negated something else, Mistva could summon, pop the Varodros, and then you could pop an additional card to get that extra form of disruption. Very nicely done. All right, what is good? We are setting up with the True Light, thanks to Maiden, send herself from the deck to the grave. When do we want to imperm? We are going to be wanting to possibly, even because more of the duel has already been played out, they started off with wishes. Imperming on Sage now becomes a different situation. But imperming the Spirit with Eyes of Blue is still generally going to be the best negate with your impermanence if they don't open up a barrel. They open up a barrel, I would say you have to imperm it, and that's just why it's that good. A deck that has more than one good choke point, usually that's what the top 2 decks have. As we're now going to be ending with a Call to the Grave, an imperm, a Purge, a Majesty. The Majesty is dead. we completely cut off their access to using the Majesty. So what we really screwed up here with is the search with Wishes. Wishes should not have searched Majesty with Sage. Wishes should have searched for a Roar because we don't know what kind of disruption they would have stopping our access to a Blue Eyes by negating the Spirit Eyes of Blue. We would have at least been able to Roar, summon, and then wham bam thinking man from there. What did the True Light set? The True Light set a Wishes, okay. Saphira is going to discard herself to search for nothing as she is now going to get fingered. Negate on the search, and her secondary effect of being able to ritual summon is now going to be gone. Now we have Diviner though. Diviner could send a Trias, which could then tribute off the Diviner. First, we're going to try to bait with some other plays first. The Wyrmwind's going to do nothing on our own turn. Diviner's going to be negated by Veiler. We're going to call by the Grave, which we could then follow up with an Impermanence. Finger my Veiler, negate Diviner with Imperm. Nicely done, and it does push the opponent to waste their Finger, where instead you would have opened up with Imperm. They hold Finger for maybe a more impactful moment that you would not want them to be fingering. Well done. And now we're just sitting on a Maxi. Hakva actually triggers here. That's crazy. If a monster is banished, and there are 2 other banished monsters that are not the Hakva, it will trigger to summon itself onto the field. And then it has another effect. It has the effect of place a Wyrmwinds to the deck to add from your deck, graveyard, or banishment a VVRyuGe card, right? Add a VVRyuGe card. Yep, anything. So we're going to be Purge negating. And it is a destroy since there is a trap in the graveyard. But that was a really good random follow-up play. Let's take out that Spirit Eyes of Blue. Now, the True Light cannot set a Wishes into the back row if there's a Wishes in grave. But we do have Roar. But we do have Max C. So what do we do against a Max C? Do we even summon from the Graveyard Maiden on the summon of the Blue Eyes White Dragon under the effect of Max C? And the Roar unfortunately summons the Blue Eyes in defense. We're not able to attack over the Diviner. And the threat of Diviner is if it ever gets tributed, it's going to trigger to summon from the deck a low. We are not caring. We're going at least into a Tyrant Dragon to set up a Disruption in grave, recycle a trap. I think it's a fair trade if you provide them 1 draw and you at least definitively get a form of Disruption. Anva itself is nothing. Mistva is the full play. So how do we do this correctly? The Anva and the Mistva are going to be paired up and hoping for them to respond to the activation of the Mistva, either its card activation or the effect activation, and then the Anva is going to be popping off. Did we accidentally get rid of Mistva? This could have been a misclick, but it also could be a real play where on summon it's now going to pop a card in the field. We know that they have Purge, but we know that Anva stops the Purge. What we actually more know that's more important is we know they have a Majesty. So the point is, if Bori were to play this turn out correctly, Anva and Mistva is not actually a good play because they could just wipe them away on the resolution and not chaining to an effect activation. So assuming the opponent's smart, which is what we did, that's why we summon Anva. The field is not going to get wiped because we're unaffected from trap effects. It's just like, maybe, so we had like 3 options. We could summon Anva, we could search up Mistva, or we could just surrender. I think surrender was probably the best one. Barreled negate, no set of a drill beam mates. The Tyrant's going to be able to recycle again, another trap in grave. So the trap you just popped, they literally on field have a card that's just going to reset that trap anyway. So I feel like we had to just try to get lucky. Yeah, if they played correctly, it would stop us. But even then, our other plays are just surrender or lead into losing. Wipe away the Anva, trigger engrave, reset the Imperm. We're going to activate to play a trap from the deck. We have Majesty, which could just pop the trap or spell. Do you even play the VVRyuGe end? Maybe you don't. In the voiceless version, that's not a good option. White Lightning for game. All right. The tentacles everywhere. Very nice. You do play some Kashtira, though. The opponent's got no disruption whatsoever. So you may be thinking, ooh, VVRyuGe, we got the field spell. It's a brick. It's dead. It's garbage. This does nothing unless you have in your extra deck a Mistva. You need the Mistva to even get popping off. We are going to be searching for a Kashtira Birth. Let's get Birth in. The field spell is activating. Let's grab these. Kaiva is just doing nothing. And there you go. So if you didn't believe me, it did nothing. We do have the Radiance of the Voiceless, shuffle Light Ritual or a ritual spell from the graveyard to then special summon, or we could pop per card. What is this? Target cards your opponent controls up to the number of Light Rituals. So this effect is dead. The shuffle effect is also, is this shuffle from the hand though? Yeah, it does. It's ritual spell from your hand or graveyard into the deck, so we could then summon. We can get a disruption off of that. And then we also have a Veiler. I'm not gonna really count the Unicorn as a form of disruption. All right, did I say Veiler? I think I misspoke. I'm not gonna count the yeah, I said the Unicorn, I said correctly. Veiler negate the barrel, and we still have the trap to be able to, maybe on the resolution right now, we would want to summon from the deck the Voiceless, which turns into the special summon negate. Spear with the Eyes of Blue on summon, search for nothing as we already have the Mausoleum. Shuffle, special summon Voiceless from the deck. Maybe we don't play it, possibly, because, you know, this being a hybrid with Kashtira and Voiceless, I don't know about the cards you're possibly missing from your deck. So the card I'm talking about in a regular Voiceless deck would be this one, the Sarvis, summon from the deck, and then you wait for them to activate to then summon the other version of Sarvis to negate a special summon. We have the attempt of the Kashtira Birth, banishing 3 cards from the graveyard here. Goodbye to the Maiden, Roar, and Wishes. We're now going to be activating the Radiance, and we are using the effect now. Return back the Skull Guardian for a low. Low is here on summon. We're going to use Kaiba to special summon. Kaiba has no effect once it's on the field. Just 3,000 attack. Sure. We have Barrier the Voiceless, which is doing nothing here, obviously. Let's wipe away the low. Main phase 2, link this up into our Hieratic Seal. Non-target, return a card on the field back to the hand. As we also have Majesty to pop up to 2 cards on the field here. Let's talk about our disruption. We could pop up to 2, negate with Veiler, return a card back, and we could also call with the Grave Finger. Quadra Disrupt. We could not get our Kashtira Fenrir on the field here, unfortunately. Barrier is attempting to search. Now, if he pops the Kaiba, we could then special summon Fenrir, which I'm sure he will do. Yeah, there you go. Goodbye. Triple Disruption left. Fenrir on summon is going to be activating, not on the summon exactly, but in an open game state, searching the deck as the Veiler negates. We negate the search, we also negate the effect of being able to banish a card in the field face down. Attempt to banish, no. We're going to now Hieratic Seal, return the Fenrir back, which main phase 2, it could just resummon itself back in the field. But by doing this, it ensures we get a Magnum Hut. Magnum Hut's going to be searching for a barrel potentially in the end phase. We're going to reborn our Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now, if we trigger the Maiden here, then trolling with the Fenrir effect earlier in this turn, which is what we pretty much did, now we're paying the price. It would have been activatable if they were to activate a monster effect afterward. Barrel's going to return itself grave back to the hand. That could trigger the Fenrir to banish a card. We're going to wait. Kaiser Seahorse, again, we're waiting on the Fenrir. And we waited until now they got a Baron to floor. Now, was there really not much we could do anyway. We just, all right, Baron to floor, negate and destroy. Open field, 7,500 damage. Let's clean them up. 76, you have to, no, Bori. What was that? No White Lightning for game. How do you mess that up? All right, 2-1.